Hello, everyone. Welcome back to Witness TV. Today, we have a really, really special guest in our studio. I think this is the first time that we actually have a dog with us. Welcome to Tickles, and to Tickles' owner, Angie Thornton from Angel Paws Therapy. Tickles isn't just an ordinary dog. Tickles is a very special dog, one of a few special therapy dogs that have been working around the Midlands area, visiting hospitals, schools. We'll hear more about what exactly therapy dogs do and what Angel Paws Therapy is doing and how they are really growing and doing amazing work, reaching people who really need the emotional support that animals offer. Welcome, Angie. Thank you so
Thank
much for
you.
being with us today.
Thank you for having us.
No, it's a pleasure. And yeah, we started off. You came to our newsroom, and the journalists, I think, were really treated to just we saw firsthand the impact that just having these dogs' presence within the newsroom has. Yeah, I think our journalists, it's a high pressure environment, so just seeing how for a minute everyone stops and that their faces light up and they just actually stop, forget about the stress, and are just able to just engage with these animals, and also just to see how these dogs just naturally gravitate towards us, and certain people. We were joking and saying, oh yeah, this one needs therapy more, but yeah, it's really amazing to witness firsthand what you do, and thank you for being here today to share more about it, with us, and yeah, how you've grown and yeah, where you're headed. So just for our viewers, maybe if you can just start by explaining what exactly is animal therapy, and how did you get into this, and what do you actually do?
What is animal therapy? When you touch the animal, all your stress hormones decrease and all your feel-good hormones increase. It doesn't matter whether it's a dog or cat or anything with fur. And they say feathers as well, but I've not tried that. But anything with fur will release that stress and increase all the happy hormones and the loving hormones in your body. And for us, when we walk into a room and everybody's face lights up into a smile, we know the dogs are doing what they are good at doing, and that is our reward. There's no pay packet that is better than the reward we get from seeing the impact that our dogs have on everybody that they meet, even though Tickle's asleep at the moment.
Yeah, but just have, yeah, like you say, his presence, just being able to stroke and how did you get into animal therapy?
When we came to this country in 1991, Colin, my husband, was headhunted, and I didn't have a work permit. So I had to do voluntary work. And I started out as a counsellor for Lifeline. And then I heard about animal therapy. And I had heard about it in England before I came, but I hadn't been involved with it. But then when I heard about animal therapy here, I had a chow at the time, and he was not a typical chow. He loved people. And when I heard about it, I thought, I wonder if that Winston would do that. So I took him along to be evaluated in March 2004, and he passed his evaluation. And we worked from there. Then I found Cavaliers. I had a Cavalier in England that I was bringing with, and unfortunately she died just before we were coming. And when I came here, I couldn't find any Cavalier breeders. So I had a chow. Well, we had several chows. And then I did find a Cavalier breeder in 2006, and I got my very first Cavalier. And over the years, we've had 8 more Cavaliers that have all been therapy dogs. So they've all taken it in turns, and now Tickle is our current one. And But she's 11, she'll be 12 in November. So she's an old lady, but she's still enjoying what she does. And while ever she's enjoying it, we will carry on.
So Tickles is a Cavalier King Charles Spaniel.
That's right.
That's right.
Yes.
And what is it specifically? Is there anything about this dog breed? You say you've had a lot. You were looking for it when you got to South Africa. What is it about the dog breed that you're drawn to, and that specifically for therapy that you like?
When I got my first dog back in England in the early 80s, before computers, I went down to the library and I got books out on all different breeds, and I read up about the Cavalier, and it said it will fit in with your lifestyle. If you're a hiker and a high energy person, the Cavalier will fit in with that. If you're a couch potato, like me, it will fit in with that as well. So I got my very first Cavalier in the early 80s, and she was coming with us, as I say. It was all planned for her to come. But unfortunately, she was ill just before we set off. She had to have an operation, and she died on the operating table. So
that's really heartbreaking.
That was very heartbreaking. So when we first came, I obviously was looking for a Cavalier, but I couldn't find them. But my parents always had chows, so I went back to having chows for many years until we found the Cavaliers. We've had them now since 2004.
Okay. Yeah, no, I do. I love a chow.
Yes.
Yeah, the Cavaliers are beautiful as well. And I think
rare.
Yes, yeah. Yeah, that you don't see them often.
No.
And I think when I first met you in 2019, you had just come to Howick, if I'm correct.
And that was with Rebecca, her bigger sister.
Yes. And I remember you telling the story about Winston and how you started. I remember Winston.
Yeah.
And back then you started with Top Dogs.
I started actually with Paws for People.
Okay.
In 2004. I founded Top Dogs in 2008, and was working with Top Dogs until we came up here.
And previously, you were in Gauteng, Benoni.
In Benoni, yeah. I built that team up there, then we moved here. And Life Hospital contacted me to see if I could take a therapy dog to a coma patient. She just recovered from a coma, and she was non-responsive. And I took Rebecca along. Unfortunately, she didn't respond to Rebecca, but a lot of the other ICU patients did. So it was still a very worthwhile visit. And we've still got a fantastic relationship with the Life Hospital now. And we've got a big enough team now that we can split and actually visit them twice a month.
Sure.
Whereas normally we only visit facilities once a month. So one team visits on a Wednesday afternoon and the other team visits on a Tuesday morning.
Okay.
So we can spread more smiles.
That's amazing, yeah. And how big are the teams?
We have 17 handlers at the moment in the Midlands, and we only started Angel Paws following COVID. So since the end of COVID, 4 years. We have a team of 17.
That's great growth.
We have a team in Greater Durban. Sure. Of about 35 people. And we recently opened a team in Gauteng.
Sure.
And they've spread back to Benoni on the East Rand.
Oh, wow, so that's like full circle.
Yes.
Sure, hey?
But we're not with Top Dogs now, we're with Angel Paws.
Okay.
Angel Paws started 4 years ago on the 29th. We're having a picnic birthday party on the 29th.
Oh, lovely.
For the dogs. So we're spreading, and we also got a team in Overberg as well. because our president moved down there and she's opened a new team down there.
That's amazing. That's amazing growth. And that's since, that's all since you moved to KZN. And then it's just grown from there.
Well, Pam and I opened Angel Paws in 29th of September 2021.
Sure.
Following as soon as COVID lockdown lifted, we applied for registration with the Department of Social Development, and it was granted on the 29th of September 2021.
And I'm sure the need after COVID, so many years of isolation, I'm sure that, the need was that's probably why it grew so fast, there was amazing need for this kind
There's
of
always
support.
a need. There's always a need. When people are in facilities and they've had dogs all their life and they suddenly can't have one, there's always that need. And it's fulfilling that need that we need to do.
So what facilities are you going visiting regularly?
We visit the General Hospital, the Life Hospital. We visit Oatlands Psychiatric Hospital. We visit several frail care centres, both in Hilton and Howick. And we visit Sunfield Home for the intelligently challenged adults. And we also visit the police station in Howick after I heard a report on ENCA one evening. And that was meant to be that I heard it because I'm normally cooking supper when it's on. And they were talking about the increase in suicides among police officers.
That's real.
So we started there in last year. And as you can imagine, there was a lot of fear among some of the officers and staff about interacting with dogs. But we're breaking down the barriers and we're brightening so many more lives. It's magical to watch. It really is. Okay. She has such an effect, and the other dogs.
Hello, Tickles.
Have you woken up?
Oh. Yeah, and I believe Howick accepts the police station. That's the first one in the country. Is that correct? That has therapy dogs visiting it.
It is. It is quite common in America. And I always thought, I didn't think it would go down very well here. So I'd never tried it. And then when it was on the news, I thought, nothing ventured, nothing gained.
No, it's amazing, amazing initiative to actually see that need and to champion that and to see the response that it's getting. How have you noticed how the police officers reacted?
When we first went, there was a lot of closing of doors and locking. Because they were frightened of dogs. We know that a lot of people have had bad experiences with dogs that are just roaming around in packs. So their perception of dogs is not the same as a British perception of dogs. I mean, I grew up in England, so our perception of dogs was different. And it's taken a while, but they are now learning that our dogs won't hurt. And the always first thing is to say, will they bite? And being as Tickle's an old lady, I always say, well, she'd have difficulty because she's only got 2 teeth left. And that breaks the ice, and they'll come and venture near. And but now more doors are opening than there are that used to be closing. So it's rewarding to see so many smiles and so much happiness and brightening lives, which is our motto. It's just so rewarding to do it.
And I guess twofold, you're also breaking stereotypes around dogs and, you know, the fears that a lot of people have towards dogs. You're also saying, no, you know what, dogs can actually help. Their animals are our friends, and, you know, they provide the support. We can have this relationship with them. So twofold, you're also doing that.
We also go into the schools.
Yes.
And,
tell us about the schools.
And we do an education program in the schools so that we can teach the children, and they can go home and spread that word to their parents as well. So we're doing it from the ground up as well. So we teach them safe interaction with dogs. We teach them how safely to give them a treat, how to behave around them. We relate it to their own lives. So we teach them that not to go up to a dog when it's eating and not to try and take their food away from them. So we equate it to any of them that have got older siblings. How do you feel if your brother comes along and takes your food or takes your sweets or whatever? And they say, oh, I get cross. And I said, well, why shouldn't the dog get cross? So they can relate to that. And also, how do you feel if somebody wakes you up when you're sleeping? Well, I get cross then too. And I said, well, you know, don't do that to the dog. If you don't like it, do it to you. So they equate it to their own lives, and then they learn to respect the dogs. And then we give them the opportunity to sit and interact with the dogs. We actually teach them to ask before they touch the dogs. And we actually have it on their jacket as a reminder, ask to pet me, which they don't need to do when it's a therapy dog. But it's a reminder of them, for them to do it when they're out and about, to always ask first, because they might look furry and friendly, but not all people are friendly. So why should all dogs be friendly? So, I mean, when we go for a walk around the Midlands, very often parents will say to their children, oh, look at these lovely fluffy dogs, come and say hello. And I always have to teach the parents to teach the children to ask first, and then it's fine. You know, my dogs are fine. Therapy dogs are fine. But we have to teach them for the maximum number of dogs, not the minimum number of dogs.
No, that's important. Skills, life skills too. And also when it comes to the children in the schools, I believe the therapy dogs play a role in helping children learn to read or build their confidence in reading. You were explaining that.
We use the dogs in all sorts of therapy. So we do one-on-one working with individuals, therapists or teachers, or we work in the schools. So what we do with the children to help them with the reading is we take the children out of the classroom situation. It's too far back for me to remember, but I know most people can equate to standing up in class and reading and making a mistake and being made fun of and being teased afterwards about it, which makes them very reluctant to try again, and it builds up that stress. So we take them out of the classroom, we sit them on the blanket with the dog, and they read aloud to us or to the dog. And then we'll make sure that they've understood what they've read. So instead of saying, what was that all about? I'll say, I don't know whether Tickle understood that. Can you explain it to her? And again, that gives them the role of teacher rather than the underdog. And they explain it to Tickle. Or if there's a word that I don't think they've understood, that then I'll say, well, I don't know whether Tickle's heard that word before. Can you explain it, the meaning? So if they don't know the meaning, we take dictionaries with us. We've got picture dictionaries, so we take those along, and they look it up in the dictionary, along with Tickle. I've got a photo of she has her head on the dictionary. They're looking up the word for
beautiful.
in the dictionary. So then they write it in their vocabulary book and their meaning, and then that's something that they will remember.
That's excellent. That's such an excellent way of approaching learning to read. I mean, we have a literacy crisis at the moment, and the main issue is reading for comprehension. And I mean, it's so amazing to see how your therapy dogs are literally helping to tackle that issue in such a unique and innovative way. That's really awesome.
Well, I've been doing this so long that I actually follow what's happening around the world. And I pick up ideas from other countries and then try them out here, so that so everybody benefits. We all share. We have a group of people from different organisations around the world, and we all share good news and new ideas, and that's how I learn and pass it on to and try it out. If it works, great, and if it doesn't work, we try something else. So
and I love the way that you're looking at what's happening all over the world, but you're also tapping into the news and issues that are affecting South Africa. I mean, the police. Earlier you said, you saw that suicide rates are high within the SAPs, and, you found a way to use your therapy dogs to solve that issue. Again, with the reading and the literature, how you're providing real solutions to these issues that as a country we're facing, and with the power of animals, that really speaks volumes to your work.
Well, Pam and I started this, and everything was slotted into place. And we always say it was meant to be when something new happens. And it was meant to be that I watched the news that night, because I don't normally watch the news at that time. And so many things, like when we did the first visit in Pietermaritzburg and Kayla came along, she saw the effect. So then she invited us to come today. So it was meant to be. And things do happen if you are open to new ideas, and we're open to new ideas.
Yeah, so Kayla Shaw is our reporter, and I think our news team is, our newspapers, our community titles, Maritzburg Sun, Village Talk, and The Witness. We've been covering, your developments and a lot of heartwarming stories as well. And I think it also speaks to the fact that, I think today's visit to the news team was really great, because it shows how, a lot of what you're doing also coincides with what we're reporting on. There's these news issues, and you're also helping to solve these issues that newspapers' headlines are constantly reporting on. And then also, it also speaks to the fact that journalists also, we were just chatting earlier before we started filming about how journalists often, we don't realize that what we report on, we also actually go through a lot of trauma through, the sites that we see, the secondary detailing of news reports, and that also impacts us as journalists. So, just to experience this emotional support in the form of your therapy animals, I could just see, the newsroom, the response. There's that aspect to it. So I think there's so many different areas of society that the therapy animals really, really do benefit.
And I think that's a first as well. I don't know of any other organisation that's visited the newsroom.
Well, we are so honoured and grateful to be graced
it was meant
by your
to
presence.
be.
Yeah, well, thank you. And I do hope that this is the first of many visits.
I'm working up in Howick and Hilton, and we're opening a team in Pietermaritzburg.
Yes, I believe so. So let's...
if we can help to expand that team, then going forward, they will be able to offer more visits to you. So it's all working together.
So let's talk about the Pietermaritzburg team. What's the process of, you've expanded to so many different areas. How does it work to expand into a certain area in terms of volunteers? How do you form the teams? What's the process entail?
Well, we spread the news that we hoping to open in a new area, and that we're looking for people with friendly dogs. The dogs have got to want to interact with everybody. It's not a case of you can train your dog to be a therapy dog. Therapy dogs are born, they're not trained, because they've got to have that want to go to everybody that they see. In fact, Tickle, we often, if we're going out for coffee or something like that, if we're sitting in a restaurant or something, and people walk past and ignore her, she'll squeak at them.
Oh,
She'll go.
We heard her squeak earlier, and I'm so hoping. I wish we get to hear her
She's
squeak.
Tired
yeah,
now.
she's tired. She
now,
squeaked out.
She does. She wants people to interact with her.
Oh, gorgeous.
She feels left out if people don't interact with her. So that's what we're looking for. That
real
want
social
to interact.
dogs.
And then, of course, they've got to be stable enough to cope with all the situations that we go to. Going into a hospital, going into a care facility. There's all sorts of things that they can smell and sense that we can't, that they've got to be able to cope with that. They've got to be able to have good manners. We don't say good training, we say good manners, because they've got to be able to be under control of the handler, but not with the handler always giving the orders.
Okay.
We need the dogs to think for themselves, because they can sense the needs. They can smell out emotions. They can smell out illnesses. They know where they're needed. But if they are not well socialized and well mannered, they might lurch into a situation and cause an accident. So that's why we say they've got to have good manners rather than good training, because the ones that have had high levels of training take longer to relax into the role of a therapy dog. It's not that they can't be a therapy dog. It's that they're not used to being the one that's giving the commands. Okay. We're the facilitator. Mm-hmm. The dogs are the therapists.
That's so powerful.
Yeah.
And, you've obviously experienced so many of these interactions, witnessed. Are there any memories or moments that really stand out, how you've witnessed dogs helping patients or people?
As I say, the first time we met was when that patient was just recovering from a coma. But we have had an instance a few years ago where we visited a patient that was in a coma, and then not long after the dogs left the room, the patient came out of the coma, and the first thing they said was there a dog just in here?
Wow.
They experienced the dog even though they weren't conscious. I've had Alzheimer's patients who chat to the dogs, and then if there's a staff member present, they might tell us that person hasn't spoken for maybe months or even longer. The first time was way back when I still had my chow, and we walked into an Alzheimer's patient's room, and they were actually restrained in their bed because they were a danger to themselves as they would wander. And we walked in, and this person just said, "Ooh, dogs." Well, that's a normal reaction as far as we were concerned. But there just happened to be a staff member putting something in a cupboard in the room, and she said, "That's amazing." And we said, "Sorry, what is?" She said, "They haven't spoken a word, never mind string 2 words together for over 6 months.
Unbelievable.
But to me, that was just someone reacting to my fluffy Winston walking in.
So going back to, you said therapy dogs can't be trained. So let's, and I'm assuming in terms of the handlers and volunteers, it's a volunteer basis. You just, if anyone wants to kind of like see if their dog is capable of this, do they just call you up and say, can we see if my dog submit their dog? How does the process work?
We organise evaluations when we've got enough people interested. We will organise an evaluation. We've got one coming up on Sunday. We've got 8 more dogs being evaluated. So if people hear about it and they think their dog will make a therapy dog, then they contact me and I give them all the details, and then we invite them to come along to an evaluation. We partner with an animal behaviourist who can watch the body language of the dogs. I can read my own dog's body language, but I don't always pick up on everybody else's dog's body language. I know the basics, but not the fine-tuning. And we put them through several exercises, and we're looking for a dog that will work happily visiting individuals, but they also need to be able to interact with the other dogs. Well, not say interact, but they have to tolerate the other dogs. Not all dogs like other dogs in their personal space, but in a working environment, because we always work as a team, we don't work as individuals. If I know that my dog will react in a certain way in a certain circumstance, then it's up to the handler to work to stop it happening. I had a Cavalier who loved toddlers, and if there was a toddler coming, she always wanted to jump up and give cuddles.
Oh.
But that was not good for the toddler. So as soon as I saw a toddler coming along, I would hook my finger into her collar to prevent her jumping up. And that's what I say about proactive handling. So if you know your dog doesn't like another dog in its personal space, then you don't allow that to happen. And then we introduce them to all sorts of things that they might come across when they're working, like wheelchairs and crutches and walkers, and so that there's nothing that startles them when they go into a new environment. And should a dog, which has happened, that was a bit wary of the wheelchair, for example, we send the wheelchair, if they're good in every other aspect, they're just wary of the wheelchair, we'll send the wheelchair home with them so that they can get used to it. Sure. And then they're so used to it that it doesn't faze them when they come across it in a working environment. So, yeah, we test them, and we test them for separation anxiety, so that we know if there was a situation where we walk into a room and something's happened, then the dog can be handed to the other handler while one handler goes and runs and fetches help. Okay. So if one dog doesn't like being separated, then they're the ones that don't get separated, and it's the other handler that goes and fetches help.
So you just monitor, track the different personalities, and sure, a lot of work goes into that, and obviously planning who's the teams and which places you visit.
It's all it all comes with time and experience. Once the dogs we feel that they will make a therapy dog. They're not a therapy dog from the day that they pass the evaluation. They go in training, and they come along to different facilities, and we like them to test, maybe going to an old age home, maybe going to a school, maybe going to the some place like Sunfield Home, so that we know where the dogs are comfortable. Okay. It's not where the handlers want to go. It's where the dogs are comfortable. Everything is for the dogs' benefit. We think of them first. Without them, we can't have an organisation.
So they literally just lead the way, and they literally sniff their way to wherever they believe they need to go.
So if a dog, for instance, doesn't like going into a certain environment, then we avoid them going to that environment and concentrate on the places where they do enjoy going.
And currently, your Pietermaritzburg team, how many people do you have?
Actually, currently in Pietermaritzburg, 2.
Okay.
But we have several in Hilton, and we are evaluating more from both Hilton and Pietermaritzburg.
So you're basically calling on Pietermaritzburg residents to who think that their dogs have what it takes to
We're
come
definitely
forward.
calling on Pietermaritzburg people. There are so many facilities here, far more than there are in the Midlands, in the Hilton and Howick, that without their help, then it's not going to go any further.
And then just thinking of the dogs, are there any instances where a certain dog bonds with a certain patient or person that they interact with? Or do you get patients who are saying, please, can this dog come visit me again?
We very often find that residents and patients have bond with the dogs like the ones that they used to have. So the ones that used to have border collies, can they have a visit with the border collie? And that's why when people do join us, we need the commitment, because it's no good them coming one time and people thinking, oh, that's wonderful, that border collie is just like the one I had. And then the next time we take maybe 4 or 5 other dogs, but there's no border collie. So they're then disappointed. So there's not many people that used to have a Cavalier, but they still enjoy visits from Tickle, and she's become quite the favourite of quite a few. But
I can believe that. She's gorgeous. Yeah, and I think you mentioned earlier that you even have a brush. You carry a brush with you because people like to brush her hair.
When particularly when we're working with the children, then they like to brush her hair. They always want to plait it as well. But I do try and persuade them not to, because we've got to get it out afterwards. Yeah. But also when we're helping with the rehab patients, it's good for them if they're getting extra movement that they can brush the dogs too. So we can use it in several instances. So there's always extra brushes and extra leads in my bag so that they can, either the children or the rehab patients or whoever, can take my dog for a walk, but I still have the main lead, and she often looks quite like a maypole because there's leads of all sorts of colours.
Oh, sweet.
With 4 or 5 children walking with her at the same time.
Sure. Interesting. And in terms of breeds, you said, and I can see why, you want dogs that are adaptable. You said that the Cavaliers make good therapy dogs. You've always had them. Are there any other, in terms of dog breeds, are there any dog breeds that are more work well with therapy? Are there any dog breeds that you kind of avoid? It's not the breed.
It's the individual dog. Okay. Cavaliers have been lap dogs since the 1600s, when it was King Charles II's favourite dog. So they are used to sitting on knees and being loved. But it's not down to breed. As I say, my first one was a Chow. And so many people would say, oh, Chow could never be a therapy dog. But Winston was an amazing therapy dog. And, I talk about the dogs using their sensors. We hadn't been going very long as a therapy dog team with Winston way back. And I had to call in to my husband's work at the time. And I walked into the office, and Winston made a beeline for one of the other workers in the office. And it turned out afterwards that guy had been close to a cash in transit that morning, and he'd actually got bullet holes in his car. And he'd not said anything to anybody when he got to work. But Winston knew it, and he went straight to him.
He just sensed the sense that this person needed support.
So it's not the dog, it's not the breed, it's the individual dog that we test.
Sure.
Winston was the exception to the chow breed, but I have had other chows in my team, but they are the exception rather than the rule. And it's the same with a power breed. It would be exception rather than the rule. And because, as I say, it's not just how the dog reacts, it's the perception of the people reacting with that dog. You wouldn't have the opportunity to break the barrier if someone went screaming out of the door when they saw a breed that they might have had been attacked by or something. So
unfortunately, that stigma exists, and we have to fight against it. But it's a reality.
It is a reality, and we have to live up to realities. We can't bury our heads and think it doesn't exist. But you can chip away at the edges, and hopefully in time.
So what I'm sensing is it's also the dogs go where they feel they need it, and it's also the people. It's their choice whether they're going to respond. So if they respond to the dog, that's fine. Like you were talking about the police, if they close their doors and they don't want it, it's fine. It's there's nothing forced about it. It's just
we always ask.
If you want. We
ask first. If for instance, if we're going to a care facility, we always knock on the door and say, do you want the dogs to come in? Even some of the residents who usually like to interact with the dogs, we don't assume it. We ask every time because they could be having a bad day and they really don't want to. But so it's their choice. It's not something that we force on them. It's their choice. We do ask. Like if we go into the hospital rooms, we ask. And we went to the hospital a couple of months ago, and I went into one room and there was two men in there. One was over by the window, and I always take Tickle in a buggy when she goes to the hospital, not for her sake, but for my sake, because I've got to keep lifting her up at the beds. So to save my backache, I have her in a buggy so that she's a higher level. And we were interacting with the man near the window, and the other one said, I don't like dogs. And I said, that's fine, Tickle still loves you anyway. And with that, his face lit in his smile, and he actually touched her, and he said, oh, isn't she soft? So I never assume and I never push. It's down to the individual. But sometimes, just by seeing them and seeing how they react with other people, then they lose their fear or their apprehension or whatever it is that makes them don't like dogs.
Yeah, so I mean, we've spoken about, the power, and, nature and animals are such great teachers. And, we underestimate their influence, their power, and the stories you're telling about how they've reached people that we as humans can't reach. How, you've been working closely for so many years with these animals, you've witnessed all these experiences and interactions. What have you learned from all your dogs?
I think the biggest lesson I've learned was when I started out, I was going to teach my dogs to be therapy dogs. But over the years, they've taught me far more than I've ever taught them. And I know now to listen to them and go with what their instincts are, because their instincts are far superior to mine. And, not assume that I know more than they do, because I don't. They know far more than I do. And hopefully I'll have dogs of my own for quite a few years yet. But if not, if I can recruit some young people, then if I have to go into a care centre, then they can come and visit me.
I think, yeah, we're young people of all ages, all dogs, all ages. Yeah, let's just expand the network. And yeah, it's an amazing initiative that you're running, and it's been so heartwarming just hearing these stories, and we're really excited to see the growth and see you expand, and just keep hearing about the amazing work that you're doing, and excited to see you reach more places in Pietermaritzburg. And please come back and visit us, because us journalists really need therapy too.
Well, it's not. I'm going to spread that with the people in America, because I don't know of anybody else that's actually visited the newsrooms.
Oh wow! So we could be the first in not just South Africa, but
yeah, I'm going to spread that, and I'm going to tell them, and then maybe that idea will spread around, because they've in America. I know they visit a lot of first responders, but you don't think about the reporters that are also there to report what's going on. So yeah, it could be a first all over the world.
Well,
or maybe they do it. I just don't know about it.
I'm sure somewhere that they have. But we're really honored that you could visit us today. And yeah, it just speaks to the fact that you are a pioneer. You're pioneering this amazing work in Pietermaritzburg, in KZN, and thank you, and keep it up. And yeah, we're on this journey with you.
Thank you so much, and thanks for giving us the opportunity to talk about what we do and spread our motto, which is brightening lives.
Well, you've brightened our lives today, and it's always a pleasure. Thank you.
And I have this with me 24/7, so I'm very
You are
lucky.
very blessed.
I have my therapy dog the whole time. Wake up.
Thank you, Tickles. Oh, thank you, Tickles. You've been so amazing.
Say hello to everybody.